Very everyone is present. So everyone, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the presentation visible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I welcome you all for the Strength of Materials lecture series with the code 18CB32. So to have a brief brush up, in the previous session, we have started with bending equation and we have solved numerical examples on rectangular section, circular section, symmetrical eye section and unsymmetrical eye section as well as T section. So T section I had given you as an assignment. I hope you all have solved it. Uh, was the problem easy? Did you give a try for T section? Yes. Did you give a try for T section? Anybody? Yes. Okay. So let's continue with the next part. So we have completed T section, I section, symmetrical and unsymmetrical I sections, right? So in today's session, we shall continue uh, with the next concept, that is shear stresses in beams. So till now we have concentrated on bending stress in the beams. Now we shall concentrate on the shear stress on the beams, right? See, basically at this stage, you know what is the meaning of shear, right? It's a cutting force. So while discussing the third module regarding SFD and BMD, there we had discussed about bending moment and shear force, how the shear force generates, right? It's basically the resisting force to your applied load, right? So, and what is the effect of shear force? It is the sliding, right? It cuts the section always. It tries to cut the section, right? So let me take an example here and then tell you how it is. See, if I take this beam, right? If I take this beam and if I take a section here, right? When I take a section here, XX, when I take a section here, XX, and when I cut it and when I observe it, right? Let me draw two sections now. So I'll show this portion here and I'll show this cut portion here, right? So if I cut the beam and if I show you the free body diagram, then you will understand how the shear force is acting. See, at this particular section XX, this is how the shear force is generated. Okay, this is how the shear force is generated. Correct? This is F and this is F. Right? This is basically shear force. Now, from this, I can say that this shear force is basically the cutting force. See, what is the effect of this? Is it not? It will slide your beam. Correct? There is a sliding effect in your beam. Correct? So that's why this is called as a cutting force. So this shear force exists in day-to-day numerical examples, like in day-to-day examples, you can see everywhere the shear force, right? So maybe if you are cutting any fruit, even there the shear exists, right? So shear is but nothing but the resisting sliding force. Okay. So I hope this shear part is clear to you. Okay, so this is about the cutting force. Cutting force is nothing but the shear force. And what is the effect of shear force? It is the sliding. So as you can see here, let's say that if this is A side and this is B side, okay, if this is A side and this is B side, A side, this downward shear force making some part of your beam to move at the downside, and this B side, the upward shear force making your beam to move in the upward direction. So you can see very clearly there is a sliding effect. Okay, so this is the effect of shear force. Shear is basically a cutting force. So if someone asks you what is the meaning of shear, you can simply say it's a cutting force. And the cutting force, the effect of cutting force is basically sliding, right? And this shear is generated depending on your applied load. Okay, as in when your applied load increases, your resistance, your shear is going to increase. Okay, and if it exceeds beyond the resisting capacity of the beam, then your member or the element is going to slide. So you should make sure that the resistance shear should be less so that your beam is in safer side. Okay, is this part clear to you? What is the meaning of shear and what is the effect of shear? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if this part is clear to you, see, of course, this concept you have been already studied in the third module, but I'm repeating this because, see, unless being a civil engineer, just learning the concept, just solving the problems, just for the examination point of view, it's of no use. You need to understand the practical meaning of it, how the force is going to act and what is the effect. And only then you can become a good civil engineer. Only then you can analyze the structure. Okay, so if you want to become a structural engineer, you need to design your building. So to design, basically what you need, this is the very basic subject. What you need basically, you should know what are the different types of loads applied, right? How is the load transferred? What is the action of the force? And how is the resistance generated by the element? In which direction? And what is the effect? So these all things need to be very clear to you. Then only you can design your building very correctly, right? So this is about shear, cutting force shear, and about the effect. So now when this shear is acting on your beam, then obviously there generates shear stress. When shear force is acting on your beam, that will give rise to shear stress. Shear stress is nothing but the resistance per unit area. Shear force, resistance per unit area is nothing but the shear stress. So as you have bending moment and as you have the bending equation for the bending stress, in a similar way, I have come to the next concept, that is shear stress. When shear force is acting on a beam, there exists shear stress. Now you need to have a equation for the shear stress. As you have the bending stress equation, in a similar way, you have the shear stress equation. So let's see that shear stress equation derivation now. Okay. So this is a derivation of shear stress. Okay. So consider an element length of beam as shown separated by a distance dx. Okay. So before I read this, let me explain this diagram to you. Please concentrate on this entire diagram. Okay. Concentrate on this entire diagram. Now let's take a beam, a longitudinal section beam, and let's take two cut section AA and cut section BB. Okay, so imagine that you have a large beam, longitudinal section. This is the longitudinal section. This is the cross section. The first one is longitudinal section. In the longitudinal section, you can see I have cut the beam at AA side and I have cut the beam at BB side. Okay, so now after cutting this beam, now let's say that first let's study what is a free body diagram after taking a cut section. So when I take a cut section now AA and BB, let's assume that the distance between two cut section AA and BB is dx. Okay, the distance between two cut section AA and BB is dx, and the the left side moment which is acting on the beam, let's say it is clockwise m, and the right side moment it is anti-clockwise m plus dm. Okay, this is my assumption. M at the left side, m plus dm at the right side. Okay, next, after this is the neutral axis. Okay, this is the neutral axis. So this is about the longitudinal section. Now this is a cross section. Of course, cross section, you can take a rectangle, you can take a circle, but I have taken a random cross section here. So let's take this random cross section. If you want, you can draw rectangle, circle also, no worries. Okay. So this is a cross section, and the width of the cross section, you can see the width of the cross section is B, small b. The width of the cross section is small b. Okay, and the neutral axis continues in both the side. This is the neutral axis. Now after this, consider a small element or a small fiber. Whatever you feel easy, you can consider that. Consider a small element or a small fiber CD, okay, at a distance CD at a distance y from the neutral axis. I'll repeat, consider, so the same thing has been shown in cross section also. Consider a CD element, okay, consider a fiber or a CD element. Okay, see, you know the beam is made up of number of fibers or a number of layers. So in that I am considering only one single layer or a one single fiber. So consider the small element CD at a distance y from neutral axis. Here you can see at a distance y from neutral axis, and the depth of this layer or the thickness of this layer is dy. Here you can see the thickness of this layer is dy. So this CD layer is at a distance y from the neutral axis, and the thickness of this layer is dy. Okay, the thickness of this layer is dy. Now please observe, this is basically CD. Okay, above CD, okay, okay, let me explain that later. So the same thing I have written it here. Consider a small, whatever I've explained now, same thing I'm going to read it. Consider a element length of beam as shown in the figure, separated by a distance dx. So AA and BB section are separated by dx. Let moment at AA be m. Let at AA section let moment be m, and moment at BB section be m plus dm. Okay. Next, this I'll explain later. Okay. Next, let please observe this. Okay. Let CD be a fiber at a distance y from the neutral axis, as I've explained now, and the thickness of the CD is dy. Okay, the thickness of the CD is dy. Next, bending stress at CD is equal to, okay, so now this you can write easily. The bending stress at CD is equal to m by I into y. Can I write this? Can I write this? Okay, let me explain it here. So basically you have bending equation m by I is equal to sigma by y. Okay, you have this bending equation. Now what I have done here is basically I have considered a small cross section. Okay, this is a small cross section and this is my neutral axis. Now on this neutral axis I am considering a small element. On this neutral axis I am considering a small element. Okay, let's say that this is the small element. Okay, so this is the small element, and this element is at a distance of, okay, this element is at a distance of y, at a distance of y from the neutral axis. This element is at a distance of y from the neutral axis. Okay, and the thickness of this fiber or the element, the thickness of this fiber or the element is dy. This thickness is dy. This thickness is dy. Okay. Now, what I have done here is, this is basically CD. This fiber, I'm going to name it as CD. Now, from this, first of all, from the previous concept, can I write what bending stress is actually acting on the layer CD? Can anyone tell me? With this equation which you have now, okay, with this equation, can you tell me what is the bending stress sigma at CD? Anybody? What is the bending stress sigma CD at CD from this formula? Yes? Are you understanding this?
M by I into Y.
Yes, yes, please. M
by Y, ma'am.
M
M into
Y by I, ma'am.
M into Y
M
by
into
5, ma'am.
is it? Okay, yes. Did you get my question? Yes. What I'm asking here is, what is the bending stress at the layer CD? Bending stress is nothing but sigma. So what is the bending stress at CD? Yes. Is it m into y divided by I? Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
ma'am.
So the same thing, I have written it here. At CD, it is m by I into y. Okay. Now, once at this point, once you have written the bending stress, okay, once you have written the bending stress, can I calculate what is the force on the element on the left side? See, you have the value of bending stress now. You have the value for sigma. Can I get the value for force? Can I get the value for force? See, I'll just explain this. See, this formula is for bending stress at CD. Now, at the same point CD, can I get what is the force acting on the left side of the CD? You have bending stress. Okay, you have bending stress, and if this stress, see, if this sigma CD, if I multiply the cross-sectional area, then what do I get? Anybody? What do I get?
Ma'am, m by I into b into dy, ma'am.
No, I know that. But you tell me technically, if I multiply this bending stress into cross-sectional area, what do I get? Sigma is equal to resisting force divided by area. Now I am multiplying these two factors. Sigma into cross-sectional area. What do I get? Fast.
Force, ma'am.
Force acting. Very correct. See, basically now I'm thinking about the left side. This is my left side. This is my right side. Left side, I had the moment m. Right side, I had the moment m plus dm. So at the left side, first I have written the bending stress. That is m into y by I. Now after writing at the left side bending stress, now I want what is the force acting on the left side. So if I multiply this into cross-sectional area, I get the force. So same thing I have written here. Okay, so force on the element on the left side is equal to m by I into y. This remains same, m by I into y into area. What is the area at CD? Can you tell me what is the CD area now? See, this width of the beam is C and depth is dy. Can you tell me what is the CD cross-sectional area? Anybody? Only CD area. Is it B into dy?
Yes, ma'am.
B into
Yes,
dy,
ma'am.
very correct. It is B into dy. So that's why I have multiplied. For this bending stress, I multiplied B into dy. So I got the entire force which is acting on the left side. Same thing, do it for the right side. Similarly, force acting on the right side. So right side, what is the bending stress? M. Instead of M, take it as M plus dm, because right side it is M plus dm. So M plus dm divided by I into y into B into dy. Same way, only thing is instead of M, I have taken it here is M plus dm at the right side. Okay. Now observe the left side force and right side force. Now observe, please observe this. Okay. Where exactly this force is acting? See, this is the force where it is acting on the left side. This is at the right side. So this is the left side and this is the right side. So you have two forces now. One force which is acting on the left side, one force which is acting on the right side. Okay, so or else while explaining the shear force, if you remember, I had taken a cut section and I have shown you the two blocks after taking the cut. After taking the cut, see if I cut it here. Okay, so these now I'm showing you the free body diagram. This is the cut section. Same thing I'm explaining here in derivation also. This is the cut section. When I take a cut section, one force was going this side, one force was going this side. Is it not? Yes or no?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Yes or no? Right. The same thing, this concept I'm explaining in this derivation. See, one force you have at the left side, one force you have at the right side. And when you observe clearly, suppose, okay, let me clear this. When you observe clearly, explain this once again. See, this is the left side force, m by I, y, b into dy. This is the right side force. If you observe this carefully, is it same or is it different? Don't you feel that there is some unbalanced force? There is a difference of force? Yes or no? At the right side, you have one force. At the left side, you have one force. Don't you feel that there is a difference of force now? When you subtract these two, is it not an unbalanced force? Yes or no? Right. So this unbalanced force, let me calculate the unbalanced force now. What do you mean by unbalanced force? If you subtract the right side force and left side force, you're going to get the unbalanced force. So this unbalanced force towards the right of the element. Why right of the element? Because right is m plus dm. So that if you calculate, let me subtract this, m plus dm by I yb dy minus m by I yb dy. So this is the equation. So when you subtract this, m by I will get cancelled. So what remained is dm by I yb into dy. So this is the unbalanced force which is generated at that particular section. At which section? At CD section. Is it not? Now you're not talking about the entire element. In this derivation, you are simply considering one single fiber, and for that single fiber, you are analyzing the data. Okay, only for that single fiber CD, this is an unbalanced force. Now just think about the entire element. This entire element is made up of number of CDs, number of elements or number of layers, right? Now that means such unbalanced force exists throughout the section. Am I correct? Yes or no? Such unbalanced force exists throughout the section, throughout the layers, throughout the elements. Yes? Let me show it here. See, this CD. At the CD, you have calculated unbalanced force now. Correct? So this, now if you take another layer here, if you take another layer here, if you take another layer here, go on taking every layer has an unbalanced force now. Correct? So such unbalanced force exists throughout the section. So to calculate that, you need to take the summation, or you need to, summation is nothing but integration, right? So to get the unbalanced force of the entire section, please observe here, I have taken a integration or the summation. Observe the sentence carefully. Number of such elements exist above the section CD. Hence, unbalanced horizontal force above CD will be equal to. Please observe the sentence carefully. It exists above the section CD. Okay. Such unbalanced force exists above the section CD. Such unbalanced force above the section CD. Where is your section CD? This is your section CD. Let me make, please observe this yellow color. I'll just fill a color here so that you'll, okay. So whatever I have filled the color now, okay, this yellow color is the upper area of your CD. CD was my considered layer. Above CD, I have marked it in the form of yellow color. I have hatched it. I have made a shaded area with the help of yellow color. So at the point CD, you have calculated the unbalanced force. Such unbalanced force exists throughout the section above CD. Above CD means whatever I have taken the yellow color shading lines. There it exists throughout the section. Okay. No, that's why I have taken the integration now. So please observe the same equation. I have taken the integration. dm by I, yb dy, call this equation as 1, and this is the integration. And integration limit, it is y to y top. What is y top? Yt. If you remember what is yt, do you know what is yt? Do you remember this? What is yt? Do you remember what is yt? Yes, please tell me what is yt. In the previous concept, while in the numerical examples, we have considered what is yt. From where to where it is distance? Yes. What is yt?
Temperature.
Sorry? What is YT? Temperature. Sannidhi, Rohini. You're there?
Top flange, ma'am.
Top flange. Anyone else?
Tensile, ma'am.
Tensile. Rohini. Kavita, Tirumala. Okay, some say it is temperature, some say it is tensile. Let me repeat this once again. This is one of the important concept which you are going to study. And if you have not brushed up your previous concepts, if you have not gone through your previous numerical examples, this strength of materials is going to be very difficult for you. Please make sure that you regularly practice this and you understand thoroughly. See, at this stage, if you tell me what is YT, T is the temperature, then absolutely there is no meaning for this. Is it not? We have discussed YT and YB, the distance from the neutral axis to the top of the fiber, distance from the neutral axis to the bottom of the fiber. Yes or no? Haven't we discussed about this? YT and YB?
Yes, ma'am.
And some say it is I section. First of all, in this particular concept, I have not considered the I section at all. I have taken a general section. Then why it becomes flange? Please make sure that, let me tell you very clearly, don't simply waste your time without knowing the concept attending the online class. If you have not brushed up the previous concepts, it's of no use attending the online class. Let me tell this very clearly. Okay, see, this online class is kept for the interaction purpose. Whether you people have understood or no, that's the main reason for conducting these online classes. And without brushing up the previous concepts and coming to the online class, it's a horrible stage now. When you say YT is the temperature, it's of no use. And once again, I'm warning you that this semester, you will be definitely writing the exams. It's not that you will get simply promoted to the next semester. I've already sent you a draft VTU copy timetable, right? So strength of materials, you're going to write this VTU exam. So better start preparing. Anyhow, you're in home right now. So you have plenty of time. Utilize it. Okay. So don't waste it, utilize it, because this concept, it is helpful for your next semester as well. If you're not getting anything, let me know. I'll repeat that concept. But once the concept is clear to you, make sure that you never forget that concept. Okay. So, of course, those who have understood, well and good. Those who have not understood, please refer my previous videos. Go through that. If you face any difficulty, you can contact. Okay. So I was discussing about the integration limits, Y to Y top. Okay. So YT, I want everyone to go through the previous concept, go through the numerical examples of previous class. So then you will get what is YT is equal to. Okay. So I have taken the integration limit as Y to YT and call this equation as 1. Okay. Now the horizontal force is resisted. So when I say that there is an unbalanced force, okay, this unbalanced force is generated throughout the section, right? So you can see a diagram here. Okay, so this is the diagram how these unbalanced forces are generated throughout the section. See, what I have done here is, in this particular diagram, the CD element, I have made it as a flat. Okay, the way I'm holding it is, I'm viewing it from the top. Now I'm viewing it from the top, and this CD layer, I have kept it in horizontal way now. Now, when I keep it in a horizontal way, now here you can clearly observe the direction of the force. How the left side force which was generated, this is how it is acting. Observe this, m by I, y b dy. This is how the force is acting. And the right side force, this is how it is acting. M plus dm by I, y b dy. Now, both the forces are acting in opposite directions, right? And both are in horizontal plane itself. And as such, as I have already stated, there is an unbalanced force generated between left side as well as right side, correct? Now, this unbalanced force, where it will go, what the section will do. So there should be some resistance force to the unbalanced force generated, right? So when I say that the force is generated means your body or the element or the beam or the column, it should generate some resisting force. That resisting force, I have shown it here in the form of Q. You can see the small q here. And please see the directions also. Okay, so the direction of Q. Q is basically a resisting force to your unbalanced force. Q is basically shear stress. Okay, this is resisted by Q. And since m plus dm, since at the right side the force was higher, and that's why to resist this the direction is taken opposite to the right side. Okay, so this is about the resisting force. The same thing I have written here. The horizontal force is resisted by the shear stress acting horizontally as shown. Okay, now force due to the shear stress Q is equal to, or Q dash is equal to. Now when I say the Q is generated means what is the force due to shear stress Q? So here I can write, see this is the Q which is the shear stress. Now if I want to convert the shear stress into force, multiply by area. So what is the area for this? Here you can clearly see it is B into dx. This is the area. So that's what I have written here, B into dx, and call this equation as 2. Okay. Now once both the forces are been obtained, so equate now, equating equation 1 and equation 2. Now when you equate this, Q B dx is equal to the integration limit m dm by I y b dy. So now take this dm by I being common, because dm and I, moment of inertia, being common, I'll take it outside. Okay. So the integrating element, I'll take it inside the limits. So y to yt, y into dA. Okay. Now, of course, no need to integrate this. I'll tell you later what to do. So just take this Q outside. See, ultimately what you are actually deriving, what is the purpose of your derivation? It is to determine the equation for the shear stress, which is nothing but Q. So take the Q outside. Okay. So take this Q outside. So equate this now. Q is equal to dm by dx. Dx, I have taken it to the denominator, the RHS side. So dm by dx into 1 upon I into B, integration limits y to yt, y into A. So this is the formula for the shear stress. Okay, but integration limit y into A is nothing but summation A into y. And what is summation A into y? In the first year, if you have studied carefully about the inertia portion, okay, summation A into y can be written as A into y bar. Can be written as A into y bar. Okay. So finally, I have my equation now. Q is equal to, okay, and another point, dm by dx is nothing but F, because we know that if you differentiate bending moment, you're going to get shear force, correct? So in the third module, while studying the relationship between the bending moment and the shear force, I got an equation saying that dm by dx is equal to F. The meaning is the differentiation of the bending moment will give you the shear force. So dm by dx is equal to F. Knowing this concept, I have substituted this formula or this answer in my equation. So dm by dx, take it as F. So Q is equal to, the final answer is F divided by IB into A into Y bar. Okay, so this is the final formula for the shear stress. Now on this shear stress formula, we'll derive the, we'll continue with the numerical examples. Okay, so before I can start with the numerical examples, please understand this formula carefully. Understand this formula carefully. So in this particular formula, Q is shear stress, F is shear force, I is moment of inertia. Okay, the formula remains same which you have done in the previous numerical examples. A is cross-sectional area. Now the question comes, what is Y bar? Please read this sentence carefully. Y bar is the distance of considered fiber from the neutral axis. Y bar is the distance of CG of considered fiber from the neutral axis. CG is missing over here. Okay, Y bar is the distance of considered fiber CG from the neutral axis. This is one of the very important sentence. Based on this itself, you will understand how to solve the numerical examples. Okay, now before I go to the numerical examples, this Y bar, okay, please observe here what is Y bar in this particular diagram. Okay, so in this particular diagram, CD is here, Y is the distance from the neutral axis to the bottom of the CD. This is Y, as you can see here, and dy is depth of CD, and Y bar, which is there in your formula. The Y bar is, see, if this is your CD means top area should be considered always as the derivation goes. So the top area means the CG of top area will be here. So from here to here, this is Y bar. Or else, let me show it in the diagram itself so that it becomes very clear to you. Once I go into the numerical examples, then there should not be any problem. Okay, so this is my, I hope this is visible to you, or let me change the color. Okay, so this is my longitudinal section. This is my longitudinal section of the beam. And let's say that this is the cross section of the beam. Okay, in longitudinal section, you're going to observe length of the beam. This is breadth of the beam, and this is depth of the beam. And where is your neutral axis? This is your neutral axis, somewhere at the center. This is your neutral axis, NA. Okay, this is your neutral axis. Now, let me consider one fiber. Okay, let me consider one fiber. So now I'll consider this fiber now. This is my considered fiber CD. Okay, this is my considered fiber CD. Now, let me explain where is Y bar now. Please remember this concept. I'm going to use this concept in my numerical examples. Now, where is Y bar? Okay, before I go to the Y bar, first of all, always in shear stress. Remember this. Always in shear stress, top area from the considered fiber should be considered. Always remember this. Top area from the considered fiber should be considered. Okay. Top area from the considered fiber should be considered. So where is your top area? Let me do the shading part now. Where is your considered area? Right. So this is my considered area, yellow color. Okay, I have made a shading with the help of yellow color filling. So this is my considered area. So now when I say that this is my considered area, you can easily calculate the CG of your considered area. Yes or no? Where is your CG of your considered area? This is the CG of your considered area. Am I correct? Yes. This is the CG of your considered area. And now the point is the distance between the CG of your considered area, okay, the distance between the CG of your considered area to the neutral axis is called as Y bar. This is Y bar, which is there in your formula. Always, while using that formula, if you have considered any element, first consider area above that element, then try to find out the CG, and the distance from that CG to the neutral axis is nothing but Y bar. And even area is there in your formula. Please observe this formula. Let me show this formula once again. Yes, Q is equal to F by B into I, A into Y bar. What is this A now? A is the cross-sectional area. A is the cross-sectional area. Y bar is, I have explained now. B is nothing but breadth of your section. Okay, in this case, where is your breadth of this is your breadth of your section B. Is this clear to you? this formula clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Please read the concept carefully because numerical examples, see, solving numerical examples, remembering the formula, getting the answer, maybe it's quite easy if you are good at remembrance. But as far as logical part is considered, this comes only when there is thorough understanding of the formula. This comes only when you have properly understood the derivation, right? So if you want to apply the concepts logically, then make sure that you study the concept, you remember the concept carefully. Just for examination purpose, if you remember the formula, if you substitute, it's of no use, right? So better start studying. If you face any difficulty, you can always contact. Okay, so now this is about the shear stress formula. Now, after this shear stress derivation, now another thing you need to derive a standard derivation for a rectangular section. After this, I'll continue with the numerical examples. Okay, now what is the standard derivation for shear stress for a rectangular section? Please observe this: shear stress across few standard section. Now here I am taking rectangular section. Okay, now in this particular derivation, here this is also in the small derivation. Okay, now in this particular derivation, you will clearly understand how the formula has to be applied and how the shear stress variation diagram has to be drawn. See, in case of, if you remember, in case of bending stress, after solving the problem, you have drawn the bending stress variation diagram, if you remember that carefully. Okay, so if you remember carefully, in case of bending stress, I have drawn the bending stress variation diagram for all the section, I section, T section, rectangular section. In a similar way, now you should do it for shear stress. Even for shear stress, there is a shear stress variation diagram. So that you are supposed to draw. Okay, now, before I go into this, next derivation, I have a small question to you. Okay, let's see that who will answer this. At least then I'll get to know that at least something is, something you people have understood. Okay, there is a small question to you. Please observe this formula. Observe this formula. Can you tell me, okay, can you tell me, looking at this formula, where is the shear stress maximum in your rectangular cross section? Where is your shear stress maximum? If you remember, bending stress was maximum at the, okay, you think about it later. Let me revise this. Bending stress was maximum at, can you tell me where the bending stress was maximum? Can you tell me where the bending stress was maximum? Answer something. At least if you don't know, you can answer if you don't know.
WL
Just say
square
that
by
you
8,
don't.
ma'am.
No. I'm not asking you the formula for maximum bending moment, WL square by 8. Okay, what I'm asking here is, if this is your section, where is the bending stress maximum? Not shear stress, bending stress, which we have learned in the previous concept. Observe the bending stress variation diagram. You have drawn the variation diagram, right? Tension, compression, bending stress variation diagram you have drawn. Tell me where it is where it was maximum and where it was minimum.
At end points it will be maximum, ma'am, and at center
Okay.
it will be minimum, ma'am.
Yes, very correct. May I know who is this?
Amog, ma'am.
Amok. Okay, as Amok said, very correct answer. So it is maximum at the top and it is minimum at the neutral axis. It is maximum at the top or bottom depending on the type of beam. So if you remember, this was the bending stress variation diagram, correct? This is the bending stress variation diagram, which you have learned in the previous concept. Now this is the bending stress variation. But now today what you have learned? Today you have learned about the shear stress. Okay? Today you have learned about the shear stress. So what is the shear stress formula? This is the shear stress formula. Now based on this formula, you tell me where is the shear stress maximum now? Whether it is maximum at the top or whether it is maximum at the bottom or at the neutral axis. Where is the shear stress maximum? Everything is dependent on this formula itself now. This formula speaks many things. Though it is just a formula, when you think about this technically, it has many more things to discuss. Okay, think in this way now. Q is equal to F divided by B into I. For a section, maximum shear force will always be constant, yes or no? It depends on the applied load. If you are applying 10 kilonewton load means, so maximum shear force will not at all change for the entire cross section. It remains same. Am I correct? Am I correct?
Yes,
If
ma'am.
you take a section and if you apply the load, right? So as per our assumption, the load is transferred uniformly everywhere. So when the load is transferred uniformly everywhere means the shear force generated will also be uniform as per our assumptions. So F will not change depending on the section, top or bottom or the neutral axis. So F will not come into picture now. Now think about B. So breadth also is constant. For a rectangular section, for every fiber, the B is constant. Yes or no? B is constant for all the fibers. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Right. So even I is constant. Moment of inertia, BD cube by 12. You will consider same I for all the fibers. CD, AB, BC, all the fibers I is same. But here comes a question, A into Y bar. This plays a very, very important role. What is A, small a? It is the area. Which area I asked you to consider? You should consider the top area of your considered fiber, right? So A is, see, suppose if this is my CD. If this is my CD, this area has to be considered now. This entire area should be considered. Yellow portion area should be considered. Okay. Now tell me, this top area should be considered means, can you tell me when this Q will be maximum? When this Q will be maximum? Is it at the neutral axis? Is it at the top fiber? Is it at the bottom fiber?
At top fiber, ma'am.
At the top fiber. So Amok says that the shear stress is maximum at the top fiber. How it is maximum, Amok? Anybody else? Anyone else? Where the area is maximum?
At top, ma'am.
At top, ma'am.
Okay, listen to me now. Listen to me now. So you say that the area is maximum at the top, but listen to this. Suppose if you say that, suppose according to you, the shear stress is maximum at the top. In the sense, if the shear stress is maximum at the top, the meaning is my CD is somewhere here. According to you, this is my CD. Am I correct? If you say that the shear stress is maximum at the top means my considered layer is here. If my considered layer is here, can you tell me, do you have any area above CD? Do you have any area above CD?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
When there is no area means the shear stress will be, yes, the shear stress will be
Zero.
zero. That's what I'm saying. At the top surface, the shear stress is zero because there is no further area to be calculated. So in this particular formula, if you are calculating at the top surface, there is no area. So your Q is going to be zero. Are you getting my point? Are you getting my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So now with this concept, now tell me where the Q will be maximum, where I should consider CD so that my Q is maximum.
At the neutral axis.
Very correct. So this is the point I wanted to discuss. So always at the neutral axis. So now if I consider this CD here, okay, let me show it at the bottom diagram. If I consider this CD here at the neutral axis, now tell me which is my area? Where is my area? Where is my area? This entire thing is my area. Am I correct? Yes?
Yes.
If I consider my layer at the neutral axis, the above area is very huge. So here I'm at the neutral axis, I'm gonna get the maximum shear stress. So that means if you calculate the shear stress at the center or at the neutral axis, then the area to be resisted is very maximum above it. And that's why you get maximum shear stress Q at the neutral axis. Did you get my point? And always remember, the shear stress is maximum at the neutral axis and it is minimum at the top and bottom. Did you get this? It is minimum at the top surface and bottom surface, but it is maximum at the neutral axis. Did you get this point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but it is exactly reverse in the bending stress. Please remember that. It is exactly reverse in the bending stress. In the bending stress, it was maximum at the top or bottom, but it was minimum at the neutral axis. But whereas in shear stress, it is maximum at the neutral axis and it is minimum at the top and bottom. Okay, so please learn this carefully and remember this concept. Okay, so with that concept, let me take this another small derivation. Okay, so the same concept now I'm considering rectangular section. Consider a rectangular section of breadth B and depth D. This is my depth D, this is my breadth B. Okay, now this is my neutral axis NA. This is my neutral axis NA. Okay, now here at this side, I'm considering a small element. Okay, of course, I forgot to write CD here. This you need to mark it as C. This is D. This is the fiber CD. So above the fiber CD, I have made a shaded area because above area should be considered here. Okay, now please observe this. Shown that a rectangular section, this is how the question you get. Show that for a rectangular section, maximum shear stress is equal to 1.5 the average shear stress. Okay, so in case of rectangular section, prove that maximum shear stress is 1.5 the average shear stress. Okay, so in this case, first of all, you should use that formula, whatever we have derived now. So to use that formula, what you do is consider an element CD. So this element I have considered. After considering this element, take the shaded area. So here I have taken the shaded area of above element, above area. So now calculate the area now because you need area to substitute in the formula, right? So calculate this area. So this area will be equal to B into D by 2 minus Y. What is Y? Y is the distance from the neutral axis to the bottom of the fiber or up to the fiber. This is Y. So please think, what is the area of this will be? It is breadth B into D by 2 minus Y. Am I correct? D by 2 minus Y. Okay, next. Next is Y bar. So I have already explained to you what is Y bar. Take the CG here. Okay, from this distance to the neutral axis, that will be your Y bar. So that Y bar is nothing but Y plus 1 by 2 into D by 2 minus Y. Okay, Y plus 1 by 2, half of D by 2 minus Y. See, just subtract this first, D by 2 minus Y, then you will get this portion. Okay, then if you divide it by 2, you're going to get the distance from the Y bar to the neutral axis. So that's what I have written it here, Y plus 1 by 2, D by 2 minus Y. So just simplify this. It is Y plus 1 by 2 into D by 2 minus Y by 2. Okay, or else I can simply write it as Y bar is equal to, take the LCM properly. So 1 by 2 into Y plus D by 2. Okay, I can write this. Now inertia I is BDQ by 12. You already know this. So now you have the formula Q is equal to F divided by B into I into A into Y bar. Whatever you have calculated now, just substitute in this formula. So F divided by, it is B, keep it as it is. I is nothing but BDQ by 12 into A. A you have already calculated here. So substitute this. Okay. Excuse me. So I have just substituted here. Even I have substituted the Y bar. So just simplify this. Few of the things will get cancelled. BDQ by 12B, and this is this 2 and this 12. 2 ones are 2 6 are 12. Okay. So even this will get cancelled. So finally, what remained is, this is the final answer for a rectangular section. Remember, this is only for a rectangular section. Q is equal to 6f divided by BD cube into D square by 4 minus Y square. Okay. Now, from this equation, you can easily plot the shear stress variation. Okay. So how do you plot the shear stress variation? In this particular formula, substitute Y is equal to D by 2. What is Y? Please observe here, this is Y. So when you take Y is equal to D by 2, in the sense Y at the top, my fiber is here now. When Y is equal to D by 2 or at the top, Q is equal to 0. Right? That's what we have discussed now. At the top, the shear stress will be always 0. So when Y is equal to D by 2, Q is equal to 0. But when Y is equal to 0, in the sense at the neutral axis, it becomes equal to 6f divided by BD cube into D square by 4. Substitute this as 0. Okay. Now this 6 by 4. Okay. 6 by 4. Take the ratio properly, you will get 1.5. So now here I can say that Q maximum or the maximum shear stress is 1.5 into F divided by BD. F divided by BD is nothing but the average shear stress. So I can simply write Q maximum is equal to 1.5 Q average shear stress. Now this is only for the rectangular section. Remember this. So you may get a small question, prove that or show that for a rectangular section, Q maximum is 1.5, the Q average. So this is what you can derive. So even after this derivation, you will get to know that this is the bending stress, shear stress variation diagram. As you have done it for the bending stress, here I have done it for the shear stress. So this is my baseline. Of course, in case of shear stress, there is no tension compression. I'm talking about shear now. Okay. So shear now. So this is my baseline. From the baseline, you got to know that at the ends, the shear stress is 0. So mark a point. And you got to know that at the center or at the neutral axis, the shear stress is maximum. Okay. So now simply join this. And also observe carefully, I have joined it with the help of curved line. Why curved line? Because observe this formula. Observe this formula. In this formula, you have a term y square. So when there is a term y square means there is a non-linear variation. There is a parabolic variation. If it was simply y means you would have taken directly straight line, right? So now once there is y square means there is a parabolic variation. So that's why this parabolic variation have been drawn. At the ends it is 0. At the neutral axis it is maximum. Okay, so this is the shear stress variation diagram. So this completes your small derivation. In the next class, that is from Monday, I'll continue with the numerical examples of the shear stress. Then we'll continue with the torsion part. Okay, so that's all for this today's session. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.